Welcome back to Smile and Scars, where karma never misses and arrogance always meets its match. If you think power comes from money or fame, think again, because this story proves that true strength lies in discipline, respect, and knowing when not to cross the wrong man. It was a bright Sunday morning in Beverly Hills. The local elite had gathered at the exclusive Ridgeway Golf Club, a place where business deals were sealed and egos were often bigger than the clubs they swung. Among the crowd was Derek Marshall, a wealthy, arrogant golfer with a reputation for belittling anyone who didn't match his status. That day, Derek strutted across the green wearing designer sunglasses, his caddy following nervously behind him. He was known for his temper-breaking clubs, yelling at staff, and humiliating anyone who dared to point out his mistakes. As fate would have it, sitting calmly near the course, quietly enjoying the morning air, was Steven Seagal. Dressed casually in a black shirt and sunglasses, he had come not to play but to relax, to find a moment of peace away from the noise of Hollywood and the chaos of fame. He had always loved golf, not for the game, but for the patience it required. But patience was about to be tested that morning. As Derek lined up for his next swing, he noticed Steven sitting near the bench, calm, composed, and completely uninterested in the show the arrogant golfer was putting on. That bothered Derek. "Hey," Derek barked, his voice echoing across the field. "You mind not sitting there? You're distracting me." Steven lifted his gaze, calm as ever. "Just watching the game," he said quietly. "Don't mind me." Derek scoffed. "This isn't a park, old man. This is a private club. People like you don't just sit here." A few nearby members shifted uncomfortably. They knew Steven Seagal, the martial arts legend, the man whose calmness hid a storm. But Derek clearly had no clue. Steven didn't respond. He simply turned his gaze back toward the course, not giving Derek the reaction he wanted. That silence made Derek furious. He swung his club with unnecessary force, missing the ball entirely and embedding the club head into the grass. "Damn it," he shouted, tossing the club aside. Then he turned, glaring at Steven again. "See what you made me do?" Steven gave a small smirk. "You did that all by yourself," he said softly. That one line, calm, controlled, and razor-sharp, hit Derek's ego harder than a missed swing. His face turned red. Without thinking, he grabbed another golf club, stormed over, and said, "You think this is funny, huh?" Steven looked up slowly, his expression unreadable. "Walk away," he said, his voice even lower this time, almost a warning, but arrogance doesn't listen to wisdom. Derek raised the club, and before anyone could stop him, he swung it down. The club hit Steven's shoulder, the sound echoing across the quiet course. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The caddy dropped the golf bag in shock. For a moment, time froze. Steven didn't move. He didn't flinch. He just looked up, his eyes locking on Derek's with the kind of cold that could stop a storm. "Big mistake," he said quietly. Then, in one fluid motion, faster than anyone could comprehend, Steven stood up. He caught Derek's wrist midair as the man tried to swing again, twisting it effortlessly. The sound of bones cracking echoed faintly. Derek screamed, the club falling from his hand. Steven moved with precision, no anger, no hesitation, just control. He guided Derek's arm downward, flipping him onto the ground with a motion so smooth it looked rehearsed. The golfer hit the grass with a thud, groaning in pain. The caddy rushed forward, panicked. "Sir, I'm sorry, he didn't know who you were." Steven crouched down beside Derek. "It's not about who I am," he said quietly. "It's about respect. You hit people because you think they won't fight back, but there's always someone stronger, someone calmer." Derek gritted his teeth, clutching his arm. "You broke my wrist." Steven's expression remained neutral. "No," he said, "I stopped you from hurting someone worse." By now, the golf club staff had gathered around. Some recognized Steven Seagal, whispering in awe. Derek's friends stood frozen, unsure whether to help him or apologize. One of the managers approached cautiously. "Mr. Seagal, we were terribly sorry. He didn't mean. Steven raised a hand. It's done, but maybe next time, make sure people here know that money doesn't buy manners. He turned to leave, his calm presence restoring the silence that arrogance had shattered. But Derek wasn't done. Rage, humiliation, and broken pride burned inside him. As Steven began walking away, Derek struggled to his feet. He grabbed another club with his uninjured hand, teeth clenched, and charged. "Hey, I'm not done with you," he shouted, swinging wildly. Steven turned just enough. His hand shot up, and with almost effortless grace, he caught the club mid-swing. The sheer control in his movement froze Derek where he stood. Steven leaned in close, his voice almost a whisper. "You just made it worse for yourself." In one motion, he twisted the club, sending it spinning from Derek's grip, then used a quick shoulder movement to flip him again, this time sending him rolling down the slight grassy slope of course. The crowd gasped as Derek tumbled, his expensive white shirt now covered in dirt. Steven dropped the club beside him, calm as ever. "Golf's about balance," he said softly. "You should learn that." The security guards finally arrived, rushing toward the scene, but Steven was already walking away, hands in his pockets, his composure untouched. As Derek lay groaning in the grass, one of the older members of the club leaned down and muttered, "Son, you just attacked Steven Seagal. Be glad you're still breathing." Caddy looked after Steven, shaking his head in awe. He didn't even break a sweat. And just like that, the martial arts legend disappeared from the course, leaving behind a crowd of people who just witnessed what happens when arrogance challenges calmness and loses. But what no one knew was that Derek's humiliation that day was only the beginning, because the next morning he decided to get even. He called some of his friends men just as arrogant as him, and planned something he would soon regret more than anything. And when Steven found out what they had done next, the lesson became unforgettable. The tension in the air was so thick you could almost cut it with a blade. Everyone at the Ridgeway Golf Club had seen what happened. Derek Marshall, the arrogant golfer who thought money bought respect, had been humbled in front of the entire club by Steven Seagal's precision. Steven stood silently for a moment, adjusting his sleeve, his eyes steady, emotionless. Derek's friends rushed to help him up, but the humiliation was deeper than any injury. You're gonna pay for this," Derek stammered, clutching his wrist where Steven had deflected his strike. Steven looked at him not with anger, but with quiet pity. "You already did," he said, his voice calm as still water. Then he turned and walked away, but Derek's ego wasn't ready to let go. The incident went viral overnight. Security camera footage leaked online, showing the exact moment the self-proclaimed golf champion attacked an older man and got effortlessly dismantled. By morning, Derek's phone was flooded with messages. "Dude, is that really you in the video? Man, Seagal owned you. Never challenge a legend." Derek's face turned red as he scrolled through the comments. His reputation, his pride, everything he thought he was, shattered in front of the world. His friends, the same ones who once laughed at his arrogance, now avoided him. But Derek's anger didn't fade. It twisted into something darker: revenge. 2 nights later, Steven returned to the club. He wasn't there to play. He had been invited by the club manager to discuss the incident and help calm the situation. It was a cool evening. The moonlight reflected on the manicured grass, and the place was nearly empty. Steven parked his old black car, stepped out slowly, his presence as grounded as always, but Derek was already there. This time he hadn't come alone. 3 of his rougher drinking buddies were waiting by the maintenance shed, each holding something in their hands: a wrench, a bat, even a broken golf shaft. "There he is," Derek whispered. "Let's finish what he started." Steven heard footsteps behind him. He didn't even turn at first. He could sense the hostility before a word was spoken. "Evening, boys," he said softly. "Don't play calm with me, old man," Derek snarled. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Now I'm taking my respect back. Steven turned around slowly, his hands relaxed at his sides. Respect isn't something you take, he said. It's something you earn. Shut up, one of Derek's men shouted, rushing forward with the wrench. It happened in less than a second. Steven stepped aside, caught the man's arm, twisted, and redirected his own force, sending him tumbling to the ground. The second came swinging the bat. Steven blocked it with his forearm, trapped the man's wrist, and swept his legs in one smooth, fluid motion. The man hit the grass with a heavy thud. Steven didn't even raise his voice. His movements were calm, precise, like water flowing around rocks. Derek backed up a step, his confidence fading with every heartbeat. You still think violence proves anything? Steven asked. Derek gritted his teeth, then charged forward with the broken golf shaft, aiming straight for Steven's chest. In one motion, Steven sidestepped, grabbed the shaft, and flipped Derek over it, landing him flat on his back. The wind left Derek's lungs in a single gasp. Steven leaned over him, his voice low but firm. You've been fighting everyone your whole life, your father, your friends, the world. But what you're really fighting is yourself. Derek stared up at him, defeated, the truth settling heavier than any blow. Steven dropped the broken shaft beside him. When you learn peace, you won't need power. He walked away again, calm, unshaken, leaving behind 4 men who finally understood the difference between arrogance and strength. By the next morning, the story had reached every corner of the internet. The new video security footage showing Derek and his friends ambushing Steven surfaced. But this time the public wasn't laughing. They were angry. They attacked a man twice their age. Seagal didn't even fight. He defended. That's real control. The golf club suspended Derek permanently. His friends vanished. The online mockery turned to silence. And as for Steven, he went back to his life, as if nothing had happened, teaching discipline, calm, and strength to those who wanted to learn, not fight. Weeks later, Derek showed up at one of Steven's seminars. He didn't speak, just sat quietly in the back, watching. When Steven finished, he walked over to him. Derek stood, eyes lowered. I came to learn, he said quietly. Steven nodded. Then you've already taken the first step. That day, Derek began his training not to become stronger, but to find peace. And in that silence, he realized something he never understood before. That true power doesn't shout, it whispers. Because real warriors don't need to prove who they are. They just walk away when the fight's already won. This is Smile and Scars, where every scar tells a story, and every smile hides a lesson.